Thank you, Kayla. I'm so excited. My name is Evgeny Kakuikin, and I'd like to talk with you about the supply chain. I led the supply chain item together with Amir Sayed and a very amazing team, and we managed to get to emphasize how supply chain is different for the agentic system. As many of you know, as a practitioners, the supply chain has been for a while, and it's not going anywhere. But we have some differences towards the agentic system, because previously the system been compromised through the registry, for the external dependency, from CI/CD problems, and now we have agentic system that are running in runtime, deciding whatever components they want to use. And this is the major point we want to emphasize in the supply chain item for the agentic. What are actually the vulnerabilities specifically to agentic supply chain? And we know the system contains tools, other agents, and prompts loaded dynamically. And this can be put in the system in a way the system is not expecting for them to behave. For example, when our AI coding assistant gets a prompt from the description of the GitHub repo, it might get in the description the wrong meaning, and it would lead to the AI coding assistant to behave in a different way. And that's only briefly how we already can consider when we use this tool, but the system will be more in production, and the problem will be more complex later on. And while the system also is trusting the external components like the MCP servers, we need to verify the privilege access is limited to only allowed actions, because these MCP servers might change and they might be different in the next version. And I'll show you one of the examples from the real world later on. And what basically we see, the supply chain is not in a static way, as in manifest when we built the system. The supply chain moving towards being dynamic and runtime. That's the major difference. And we specifically skipped some of the recommendations that were listed in the top 10 supply chain, because this is a great source to learn about in a static way when you do the system, and highlighted the items in a dynamic. What are the major risks? And as Kayla explained, the agent call can be moved by the simple instruction, and there is nothing can be done, because LLM is mixing the data and instruction. That's the way it works. And for example, when we use a tool, when we get the tool looks right, the name's legit, the description is okay, but if you download the tool, it can behave in a different way, in a malicious way. And the problem might get worse when the system will rely on a tool. For example, we have an MCP server, and many agents within the organization will trust on this server because it is internal one. And once the error propagates from the single agent, it can go wild in the entire system. That's another risk. And as we saw in NPM, the type squatted problems with the libraries already a bit were noticed in MCP server registries. So be careful when you find your MCP server and check the name, because it could lead to unintended action or behavior of the entire system. And to demonstrate the risk, there are many examples, and I encourage you to explore the references in ASI 4 and supply chain and other items. And for this talk, I picked up the research the COI team shared with the community for the post-mark MCP. So what happened a few months ago? There was a looking good MCP server that helped the agent to send the email via the service, and it worked well. The developers was trusted. The good GitHub repo, everything is okay. But with the new update, the very little change came in, just allowing this MCP server to blind copy towards the external address, and obviously to domain controlled by an attacker. And that's the problem. And when AI system updated with the newer version of the MCP server, the issue happened when the data exfiltration started getting through this MCP server. And it's not easy to detect because when you update a version, the mail is still going. You can see the data coming. But if you don't have the proper control on the domain, on external resources, you will hardly notice this added behavior. And for the mitigations, the agentic supply chain, of course, is based on the traditional security measures. And on top of that, we want to highlight something you can add to protect your system is to use the sign-in components like MCP servers or agents, and not only verify it at the build time and when you statically prepare the system to be run in production, but it's recommended to do it in a runtime as well because of the dynamic nature. And also the version pinning using the well-tested version and avoiding the auto-update for the components of the agentic system might help. And so also the way you get this external agents or MCP servers, you could use the additional gateways in your organization to avoid having the untrusted MCP. Let's say the example is the postmark, having the new version of CP server, which was not tested, which is untrusted. But if you go through the company's gateway, your security team can be able and to protect and avoid the data exfiltration in this case. And in OWASP, in Agentic Security Team, the new MCP guides, there is already guides for using MCP third-party server, and Tomer and team, they presented us a while ago, and there will be more recommendations toward the securing this part in the future. And also the initiative AI Bomb, which was already mentioned, which will Helen will lead. This also will help to secure the components and make your system more secure. And the last two mitigations will help in a way if somehow you need to, you will know that the system might be compromised. You need a way to quickly damage control and turn off the agent or the tool or the MCP server or whatever, just to avoid to propagate from the entire solution. And the thing is very interested in particular, I'm interested in how to sandbox and isolate the environments, because we know this is the best practice. This is obviously, we as a developer, many of us use AI coding tools, but we use it on our own machines, which has quite a lot of privileges sometimes. And the case with Shai-Hulud, which exploded, this very vulnerability showing that when the engineer has an access to production, when the agent go rogue, it can lead to the unintended action. And that's it for the mitigation. So to summarize, use the proxy gateways for the MCP servers, version pinning and signing components. And I'd like to pass the word to Stefano to talk about the inter-agent communication.